by clicking record. How many times have you done that you start a session and you go, didn't click record? So I'm going to just go back a little bit now. I have to play the audio because unfortunately, with lack of power, I'm lacking devices. So I'm just going to play you an audio clip. Now, this audio clip was me on the 3rd of January, 2023. And it's just a short one. I'm at a house in Constantia.
So who's feeling overwhelmed? I am, that's for sure. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, I would just say it's acceptable.
Oh, apologies. I'll have to try that again.
So who's feeling overwhelmed? I am, that's for sure. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, I would just say it's acceptable. It's perfectly fine. It's normal type of thing. Last year, December, I was focusing so aggressively on goal setting and dreams, and I had a coaching course running to help people get a head start in 2023. And today was the first day I decided to actually get back into some real structured work, and looked at my to-do list and felt so overwhelmed because there's just so much on the list to do.
So that was me. I recorded that the 3rd of January. And from that overwhelm birthed the idea to run a workshop. To run a workshop that every month I'd be able to connect with other people around the world, not only in South Africa. That was that video, I just played it. You can't hear the audio. And from here, this is where great ideas are birthed, is when you're sitting in discomfort, when you're sitting in a challenging position. And that's exactly what happened on the 3rd of January. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't know how to do this stuff. Where do I actually begin? And I thought, I know some people who can help me. Let me reach out to them. And the first person that I actually contacted around about this time was Eli Javitz in Canada. And I said to him, Eli, I want to connect with other people who are also feeling overwhelmed, who not sure how they can actually get going, to not have this idea of New Year's resolutions die with us, right? We all understand New Year's resolutions by the 3rd week of the month. Well, they don't exist anymore. How do we maintain focus on dreams and goals? And then that's where this was birthed. So over the past 10 months, we've had 18 speakers from all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, America, South Africa, presenting, chatting with us. We've had over 150, can't remember, I did count it, people coming in and listening and learning and getting inspired. This was January, that's me. This is where I'm sitting at the moment. New year, new goals, inspiring, reigniting. This is February. There's Dina, who's back again. Refocused, flourishing. This is more winter. Mindset. And as we went through the year, I realized the value of sharing. The value of all of this, from fear to fearless in July. Elevating your end game. People in August were already beginning to start talking about the end of the year. How do you stay focused? And this leads us up to this. So Eli and I were busy chatting, and we were saying, but how can we make this more impactful? There's so many people who are teaching. I don't want to teach. You can go onto Google and you can put a lot of things on. You can pull up stuff and you can learn a lot of things. I want to share. Not just intellect, but tangible value of what it means to you. What does this information mean to me, to Eli, to Dina, to Kim, and to everybody who comes? How have we applied this in our lives to then help you connect with it in order to be doing it? So that's why I've changed it from being a workshop to a podcast, to a discussion. And this is also where you guys come in. So I'm going to ask Eli to join me, because we're just going to share a little bit about what's gone on this year. Now, Eli and I connect every single week. Here's a key lesson that I'd love to share. Have a mentor, a coach. Now, Eli's a friend. He's a mentor. He's a coach. Somebody that you can share ideas with. He's in Canada. I'm in South Africa. We've got hugely different upbringings. But our focus of what we want is the same. And find that person and connect with them. It doesn't matter where they are around the world. So if you guys don't know Eli Javitz, very quick introduction for you, as there are some people here who may not know. So Eli's actually a high-performance transformational life coach, and he worked with the legendary Bob Proctor. He studied under him. And also he's a very foremost authority in success, prosperity, and the power of the mind. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman. So he's got his coaching business. He's got his family, very strong family man as well. So this is Eli Javitz, and this is one big reason why I've connected him. So Eli, what's new?
Thank you, Tim. Yes. Yeah, just it's nice that we're doing it this way. It's more casual. I like the fact that we're keeping it more interactive, and it's nice to look back, like you said, a brief reflect on how things have come along and changed this year. The other thing that came about, why we decided to make these specific conversations that count, is because there's been a lot of noise during 2023.
Yeah.
Everything.
Give me an example. What noise? What noise has derailed you this year?
Well, for example, all of a sudden the world and everywhere you turn on the media and the social and everything went from COVID talk to Russia-Ukraine talk to all of a sudden what's happening recently in the Middle East and Israel and everything. So it's like it's month to month, just as we do our workshops and we do our calls, month to month, some new bullshit that comes up to deal with, that takes over our mind, and everywhere I turn. So I was talking to Tim about this, and when I discovered self-development, when I moved into this part of my life and started growing, I stopped watching news. I didn't realize how much time people spend watching the news. I mean, morning news, at noon there's news, after work there's news, and God forbid something changed at 6 o'clock that you didn't catch up on, there's the evening news before you go to sleep.
And when was the last time that you listened to the news and afterwards you thought, that was amazing, I feel so happy,
right, I feel amazing,
optimistic. Man, that news was so fulfilling.
Exactly, that's the thing.
David's laughing, he's going, no, that doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, you never hear anything that encourages you. You never hear anything that tells you, hey man, you're amazing. You had an amazing day today because you just got up, you served people, you helped, you took care of your family, you took care of your health, you ate a great meal. Nothing, zero. It's all about what's going on. And the thing is, I stay away from it as much as possible, but it's impossible to stay away from it because eventually it happens from circle of association. You go somewhere, you meet with people, all of a sudden the conversation is like, hey, did you hear what happened in this place? Did you hear what happened about that? Did you hear about it? And it just comes to you no matter what. So the idea came up where we were talking with him and we're like, it's time to let people hear positive, conversations that really encourage and make us feel good about ourselves. Because enough with the noise. And that's exactly where our path has kind of led us throughout these 11 months.
So where do we get this? Where do we get this stuff from? Where do we get this good news, motivating, inspiring, encouraging news from? Because it's not done on the media, and you can go to social media. I mean, have a look at what's going on at Facebook and Twitter. I'm not on anymore. It's where can you get this? Because that's what's happened this past year, right? You have a look at what happened with Twitter, what Elon Musk went and did, where he just absolutely shook that apart. Now it's called X. Well, whatever. He's wealthy, I'm not, so he got to know what he's doing, even if I don't understand him, right?
Yeah.
But he's gone and trying to shake up that world of that communication, but then you still don't know where's this good information come from. So where do you get it from?
Well, for me, I've trained myself to be in the practice of reading books, but not just any books. More importantly, books that help you think in a different way,
right?
Help you understand the greater part of yourself. Surrounding myself with people like some of the coaches that we brought on throughout the months, you know, communicating with Tim and others like-minded people who have found that there's something more to us. There's something greater to us, and started talking and sharing. I remember when I first started into self-development, it was a scary path because, you know, the people around me just thought I was going crazy. All of a sudden I was talking differently. All of a sudden I was excited about sharing some ideas, and nobody wanted to hear my ideas. Nobody wanted to associate with, like, what's going on with him? And slowly I started gravitating towards more people like-minded. So that's one place definitely where you can get this type of better news and better ideas.
That's such an important part, is being around the people who are like-minded than you, or who are already where you want to be. And typically, and I teach this in my coaching as well, one of the things to arm yourself with and prepare yourself is, as you're growing, it doesn't mean the people around you are growing. And they may have all the best intentions. There was, I was listening to a coach a couple of months ago. I can't even remember who it was now, but they said something quite amazing. They really connected with me. That your friends love you for who you are. You then saying, I'm going on this personal development. I want to create a new version of me, a new version of my personal reality, a new personality. And they're looking and they're going, but we love you. What if we don't like this new version of you? And with all the good intentions, maybe subconsciously, they're not aware of it, they're going to pull you back. They say, no, don't change. I thought, wow, that's quite an interesting perspective. So be careful about who you're actually connecting with to get this information. You mentioned books. The wife went to a local bookshop. Guys, put in the chat box, what book are you reading? Oh, I've got my horrible camera on here. I don't know if you can see that. There. Manifest Your Destiny.
Your Destiny, wow.
Okay, you can't read. Wayne Dyer. What book are you guys reading? Put in the chat box here. What book are you reading now? Dean is going to be proud of me reading this book. We'll talk about it. I'm going to bring Dean.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's another. I'm glad that Dean is here, because she's going to talk a little bit about law of attraction. And as a student of the laws, you know, thanks to Bob, who always taught the laws and introduced me to them, because the universal laws, they work no matter what. You know, I remember having this conversation with my wife, and I kind of shared a little bit about it, and she's like, yeah, but I don't really. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. It doesn't change how it works. You can either work with it, or you can go against it. It's kind of like a river. A river flows. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It flows its way. You can either flow against it, which is going to be a lot of work and a lot of struggle for no reason, or you can turn it around and go with it and let the stream do the work with you. It's much easier. And the same thing with the laws. And the reason why I bring that up is Dina is a big fan of law of attraction. And I know that that has been talked about and overdone so much. But the idea, the basic, simple idea behind the law of attraction, what it stands for is that like attracts like. So when you take your focus away from the news and away from all the terrible things that are happening everywhere around, and away from everything that the government and whatever you believe or not believe in, and conspiracies and whatnot, that takes you away from understanding what you truly are, well, you just attract more of it. It's like a magnet. You become a magnet to shit, right? So if you turn it around, turn that boat around, begin to start reading certain little books that trigger ideas, you know, meet some people that might change your thinking just a little bit. Now you start attracting more of those. And the other one's kind of...
Here's the truth. It works. How do I know it works?
Because look who we gravitated to.
You got it. It's sitting right in front of me. I know that if I was still the same person that I was last year, I would not have attracted you three into my life. I would not be learning from you. I would have not met Dina Cramer in January of this year on LinkedIn, who then said yes, without really knowing who I was, to come to my second workshop in February. And still now she's here, and and she's my law of attraction coach. I'm part of her coaching group. We meet every fortnight. It's an amazing place. I'm going to pull a brain about that just now. And then Kim, although Kim, I'm going to be honest, you are bugging me a little bit. She's pushing some buttons there.
I do push a lot.
I think this is a brilliant time for me to introduce our two amazing guests who are going to be joining. So I'm going to introduce you to Dina Cramer. She's an internationally qualified professional coach, a facilitator, author, metaphysician, close, single mom to 4 wonderful sons. And Dina's vision is to raise spiritual intelligence by increasing passion, purpose, and consciousness. And she does this by inspiring and empowering individuals and organizations to be the best that they can be. Then we've also got Kim. Now, Kim, for Mark, is the mindset whisperer. She's a legacy coach, multi-talented South African author, a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a publisher who helps many other people author their own books. She's an entrepreneur, and her knowledge builds brands for over 20 years. And her passion is helping you create a lasting legacy. And I'll tell you more why I said Kim is frustrating me, but in a good way. If it wasn't, then Kim wouldn't be here tonight. So, ladies, absolute pleasure to have you with us for conversations that count. And for those who are listening in, this is a conversation. There may be a little bit of a structure to it because I'm respectful of Dina's time. She's taken a break from family. She's visiting her family, her son in Cape Town. So she said, Tim, I'll be with you for an hour. I said, Dina, I'll take 10 minutes of your time if that's what you've got. And so she's committed us for an hour. So we're going to be talking with her now. And then because I know Kim is also, the wisdom there. Dina, what book are you reading?
Hi, Tim. Hi, everybody. So at the moment, I was sitting on my son's couch waiting for him to finish some work yesterday, and I picked up Atomic Habits. And so, yeah, I'm loving that. Absolutely loving that. There's definitely some habits that are like addictions, and getting some nice insight on how to break those addictions and create really healthy habits.
That's an amazing book. I read it maybe a year and a half ago, and you've reminded me it's the type of book which needs to come out again. And I went and when I read it, I actually took some of the material and put it into my coaching program for business people, purely because it's such profound, but he writes in such a beautiful way. But we're not here to talk about Atomic Habits, but thanks for that. Dina, this law of attraction, Eli said it just now. It's all over the place. So my first introduction into law of attraction, into manifestation abundance, was in 2006, 2007. Who remembers the book The Secret, which then became a movie? All right. Yeah. Do you guys put in the chats? Who remembers? I'm going to pull up my chats here so I can see. Who read that book or saw that movie? Put in the chat there. Yeah. Dina, of course you did. That was, Dina, wasn't that just a big awakening? Wasn't that where millions of people around the world suddenly was shoved really, really in the forefront of all of our minds? It was all over the place. So millions of people read the book. Millions of people have got this information. So why do we not have millions new millionaires? What's going on? Does it work? What's your take?
Absolutely works. I think, so it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And I think it's not easy because it's actually counterintuitive to everything that we have been taught. So I think, we believe that our reality is reality, but actually our reality is not reality. So I think it's quite a mind bender, and you really need to see things very differently. So it's simple, but it's not easy.
Aaron says in the chats, he says, I read it, but I never understood it. that became a big thing. So I read the book, I watched the movie, I really thought this is brilliant stuff. I'm going to try driving around to manifest a parking spot next to the next to the mall. I don't think I'm successful at it because I'm not doing it now.
No. Sorry, can I interrupt you? Sorry.
There was some things missing. Just put in the chat box there for the moment, Aaron. We'll come to some open mic just now. Is that okay with you, mate?
It's just about this particular topic, okay? And I realized many years later, okay, that didn't tell you, the book doesn't tell you how to do it.
Aha!
That was the crux of it, okay? And I think that's what I appreciate with Eli sharing Bob Proctor stuff, okay?
Excellent,
For me, that is
Aaron.
absolutely
Aaron,
amazing.
didn't the book say that you sit under a tree and you just think about it? Wasn't that in the book, Dina? Wasn't that in the book that you sit under a tree and you think about it and it comes?
If it did,
I read the wrong book.
If I did, then I missed it.
But Aaron, thanks for that. You're actually quite right. Isn't that what's missing in a lot of it? What was one of the first books that also was huge? Is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, one of Eli's. I mean, that's had more readers around the world than for decades. I mean, that was written when was that written? 1940s, Eli? When was Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, 1937. And sold millions of copies and did make some millionaires, but not millions of millionaires. So, you know, to Dina's point, it absolutely works. But Arne has got a point there. How does it work? Or better yet, it's working. How do we make it work for us?
Dina.
Right? It's not that it doesn't work. How do we make it work for us?
Enlighten.
So I think part of the issue is exactly what we're talking about here, because we're trying to figure out the how. And actually with law of attraction, the how is, we don't need to figure out the how. Right. Everything in the world is made up of energy and vibration. And what we're wanting is at a particular vibrational level. So if you think about it, it's like tuning yourself into different radio stations. You know, what radio station are you tuning yourself into? And when you decide what it is you want, what you want is on a particular vibration. So all we need to figure out is how to get ourselves into that same vibration to meet up with what we want. So where what we want wants us and we actually meeting up with it. That is the simple part of law of attraction, not the easy part. So it's like, how do you then do that? How do you raise your vibration without figuring out the how? So especially now when people are thinking about, you know, New Year's resolutions and what they want 2024 to be like, it's not for us to figure out the how. We need to give the vision. We need to get clear about what it is we want and what that feels like and what that looks like. And the how is going to manifest its way to us if we allow ourselves to be guided by what is the next intuitive step. And we just keep on following the next intuitive step. And we keep ourselves in the highest vibrational place that we can. We follow our bliss, we follow our joy. I mean, how easy is that? How wonderful is that? Just follow your bliss and follow your joy. So yeah, I think, you know, it's very counterintuitive.
Isn't that where that's where the problem comes, as Eli and I were talking about earlier on. We focus on the news on social media, and then Dina says, no, but follow your bliss and joy. But look at all the crap that's going on in the world. What do you mean follow your bliss and joy? How am I meant to get there, this high vibrational place, when the world is down there? And politics and
the other problem that comes in is in the self-development world, everyone who's joining us today heard this before. Meditation, breathing, sit and think about what you want, project it out and all that. Well, that's great. But if you're spending 10 minutes in the morning as part of your daily routine, thinking about what you want, doing gratitude, and then after that 10 minutes is done, you run out like as if you're on fire, handling a million different things that have to be done today, thinking of all the clients or work or boss or employees or employers and this and that and that and that and that, and that. Where's that 10 minutes? What it was this much.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you projected exactly what you wanted. Law of attraction said, oh, wow, no problem. Your wish is my command. And then right after that came everything else that you don't want.
Yeah, fun.
So that's the problem. People, it's a constant revolutionary thing that goes on and on, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. It sounds like a lot of work. And you know what? It is a lot of work, but it's a lot easier work than struggling and figuring out what's not working.
So Dina, tell us a little bit of a background. How did you get into law of attraction? Because one of the key things we want to share here today is, what do you do? And what does it mean to you in your story? Enlighten us.
Okay, so I'm going to try and make it brief because it's a long story. But I think from the time I was young, I was very connected to the spiritual world, very aware of energy, and I think let me put it that way. So when I got married and started to have children, I actually became an intuitive healer. And that was working with energy. I could feel and sense what was happening in people's bodies, and I could channel energy to work with that. And I absolutely loved that. So I was very much in this spiritual, vibrational, energetic world. And then after 4 sons, I decided that my marriage wasn't working, and I asked my ex-husband for a divorce. And his response was, well, if you want to be without me, then you must do this on your own. And he completely refused to pay any maintenance. And yeah, it became a very difficult, horrible divorce. So I very quickly found myself a single mom and sole provider to 4 sons. And that was my training ground in law of attraction. That was where I realized, okay, now this is a chance for me to put into practice what I know and what I've read, and so, like, people are saying on this call, you've read The Secret, but now how does it work? So this was my training ground, and I've been playing, experimenting, and through that, people around me and people that I work with have benefited from what I've learned, and I share what I've learned with people, and I try to make it as practical and as easy as possible. So I don't know if that's I've tried to make it short.
I've heard your story before, and thanks for it's an awesome story. It's a story that needs to be heard. So please, you must follow Dina and find out more about it. So what have you done this year? What have you manifested through your mindfulness, your meditations, the higher energy plane? What's happened in your year? Because 2023, let's be honest, it pretty much, for majority, 95% of people, sucked. It was tough. This year, I've reinvented myself without question. I have reinvented because there's been a need for a different approach. What has this meant to you this past year? And then lead into, because I'm very aware of your time, but we still got enough time. What are we meant to be doing now for 2024 to have that life we so desperately, strongly desire?
Yeah. So I must admit, 2023 has been a wonderful year for me, and it also started with reinvention. So around about this time last year, I actually went on a course on reinvention with Nadia Zezhembayeva. Amazing course. If anyone wants to look at how to reinvent yourself, your business. So it actually started with that, and I went on a process of reinventing myself. And I stepped out of a position where I was working with a nonprofit. I was part of the leadership team for a nonprofit, and I was very comfortable. I was getting a salary every month, And I'd been with them for 9 years. I had let go of a lot of my coaching work and my facilitation, and I had really plunged myself into this world of the non-profits. I don't know, any of you who've worked in that in non-profits, you just get so sucked into the cause, and and so I really had not been doing my work. And there had been a couple of changes at the nonprofits, some political stuff that I wasn't comfortable with. It wasn't feeling like it was in my integrity anymore. And I realized I couldn't stay, and I needed to reinvent myself. And it was really scary because I had not, over those 9 years, I had not really kept contact with my clients and colleagues that were, working in the coaching world. So yeah, it was a very interesting time. I just took the leap and I said, this is what I'm going to do. And the most amazing work has manifested for me, work that I've really been wanting to do with clients that I absolutely love, and colleagues that I enjoy working with and that support me. There's just been such amazing stuff. One of the things that I've really enjoy and has been a part of my life is working with horses. I've been connected to horses for most of my life, and this year has given me the opportunity to start connecting, working with horses, working with corporates and coaching people and doing equine facilitated learning, which is just an absolute dream of mine. So this year has been really great, from really being in this comfortable position of getting a salary every month to thinking, how am I going to support myself? I don't know where this money is going to come from. I've actually had the best year yet in terms of income. So the money's just poured in. It's been easy, beautiful work that I love to do. So I'm sitting here at the moment with not knowing what's going to happen next year. I don't have I don't have clarity or clients yet, but I just know that if I trust and if I work with law of attraction, that it's also going to be another best year yet. So I'm very excited about that. And I think, your question about what should people be doing for 2024, I don't like to tell people what they should do. As a coach, I think people need to find their own way, what works for them. But I can tell you what I'm doing for myself is really getting clear about what it is that I want. Who do I want to be? And one of the things that I've become quite passionate about is being myself for a living. I want to be able to create huge amounts of abundance by being who I truly am, my authentic self. And part of that is the person who loves horses and who is working with energy. And so there's a number of the reinvention work. There's a number of different things that are all coming together in very beautiful ways. And that's what I want to do, is to help people figure out how to be themselves. I believe we're all put on this planet for a reason. And how can you be your authentic self and really just be abundant in that? So it's about getting clarity on that. Who am I? What is it that I want? Where is my joy? Where is my passion? How do I follow that? Who do I want to connect to? What feels good? So I have very religiously, I follow something called a feel-good morning routine. Every morning I wake up and I have a routine to get me into the highest vibrational feeling space that I can be. Whether that's dancing, singing, meditation, because I believe that in the morning is your best chance to kind of get yourself, it's tuning yourself to that radio station. Do I want to tune myself to a high vibration, to where my dreams and my goals are, or am I going to tune myself to what's happening in the world and all the drama and the chaos? So I choose not to go there, and I choose to put myself into a very high flying place, and I try and stay there as much as I can throughout the day. I don't always succeed, but that is my process, to really just follow that next intuitive step and see what feels right for me. Is it a yes or is it a no? And trying to go with that. So I feel like I've been talking for a long time. So let me maybe pause there and see if you have any questions around that.
No, not at all. I didn't want to disturb, but I just wanted to point out to everybody who's joining us, like, look at Dina's vibration, like her energy. You know, listen to what she said. She doesn't know where the next month, what may come. You know, it's not a salary-based thing, but she's not worried about it because she's not attached to the how. She knows that by doing her morning routine, by putting her energy out, by being in that high vibration, everything else will take care of itself. I don't know too many people that feel like that. I know a lot of people, including myself, who's working diligently every day. I've spoken to Tim about this. I'm working on myself diligently to stay away from the how. Because every time we're on that scale, that opposite end of the scale, thinking of how we can make it happen, well, I'm basically telling the universe that it doesn't know what it's doing, and Ellie's going to figure it out. And guess what? Doesn't work too well.
We're taught to focus on the how you're going to do this.
Right. And we're on the opposite side of the scale every time. Where if we just focus on what is it that I want? How do I want to feel? How do I want this day to go? What makes me happy? Who am I going to meet today that's going to just light up my world? Like, focus on that end for a little bit. And all of a sudden, everything on the how will start kind of, that's the whole reason why we're enjoying this conversation. That's why I'm so happy that Dina has been able to share with us, because that's what makes the difference. I know it sounds a little airy-fairy sometimes. It's like, well, I got bills to pay, so all this positive thinking doesn't add up to anything. Well, guess what? All the negative thinking is not going to help.
You know,
that's what being taught me, Tim, because I was worried about how am I going to pay the bills? How, it was a very scary time for me. And what I realized was that if I just trusted, the money was there. It would always arrive in the weirdest and most wonderful ways. A medical aid reimbursement or a tax, rebate, or there was always something that showed up when you just trusted. So that was an amazing, a very difficult but amazing training ground for me for law of attraction.
Thanks, Dina. There's one word which you've mentioned a few times, and Ellie has as well, and it's something which I've had to learn about, and that is feeling.
Yes,
feeling state. It became very evident to me. I was typical guy. You don't have feelings, you don't have emotions. Suck it up, deal with it, squash it, push it down, get rid of it, because that's what we're told. Your feelings got nothing to do with the practical decisions of what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. And that's one of the things that I've been focusing, being very aware. I was going to use aggressive, wrong word, very consciously, is when coming to a decision that I'm not sure which way to go, asking myself, if I do that, how does it feel? And then learning to trust that gut instinct. And that's something else I've learned this year, that your gut, your gut intelligence is the first intelligence that's created when you are first forming inside your mother's womb. Before the heart, your gut intelligence. That's why you've got this gut feeling. So I've had to learn how to tap into and listen. And I've realized on a couple of occasions when I haven't listened, the shit's gone wrong. And I've gone, yeah, dumbass. You should have listened. Getting out of here.
Think about it this way. When a baby, in the womb, when it just starts out, I mean, the first thing there's the heartbeat, obviously, but there's the umbilical cord. It doesn't just transfer food and blood and everything else. It's the central system that powers up everything. It's the battery source. And you have it with you for the entire time you're in a physical body. So your gut is gut. That's why they say also from a health perspective, it's very important to take care of your gut health, meaning the type of food you eat, how much water you drink, because all that energy is flowing right there in that central system, right? So if you take care of your body, the machine you're in, and then just pay intuitive attention to it, it'll tell you. You know when you feel scared. You know when you feel like you're about to do something wrong to another human being. You know it. You feel it. You feel when you're being, you know what? You also know when you feel when you're being kind and loving and encouraging and you know, doing good to others. You know, you feel it. So when we learn to trust those feelings, that's God speaking to us.
Absolutely. I also just want to say, I know you're talking about that gut feel, but I think for me, what's really important in terms of maybe the how, what we were talking about earlier, is getting out of your head and into your heart. Because our head is all about the fears and the heart, the rationalization. Whereas the heart tells you. So when I look at next year and I see I don't have any work, my head is starting to panic and I'm starting to think, who do I need to call? What do I need to do? But if I go tune into my heart, I know everything's going to be okay. So it's like, okay, I can breathe and I just need to do what I need to do. So it's really, I think that's one of the key things for me also, for people, is to get out of our heads and into our hearts.
But back to Aaron's point, how do you do that? I mean, it makes sense and the words sound wonderful. But I live here. How am I?
Yeah, but Tim, she used a very interesting word. I just breathe.
Oh.
I just breathe, I turn it off, and I let the heart do its thing.
David says that he's learned to live one day at a time.
Yeah.
Present in the moment. So how do you do this? Come on, Dina. We need, okay, here. How? No, let it be.
For me, it started with meditation. My journey started with learning how to meditate, because that's the way our mind controls us. And meditation gets you into a space where you control your mind and you consciously choose. You're able to consciously choose what you want to think and focus on. So for me, meditation is absolutely, it's my stable thing that I do. To get my mind to be in control of my mind. So when my mind starts to go into a panic, I'm able to shut it out and go, I'm not listening to you. Thank you very much. I know you're trying to help me, but I don't need this kind of negativity right now. And then it is about breathing and feeling into your heart. So it's a feeling. It's a yeah, I don't know how to, I don't really know how to explain it, but it is about breathing and feeling into your heart. And your heart, you know, your heart lives in a place of love, whereas your mind lives in a place of fear. So it's about getting out of the fear and into the love, tuning into that vibration of love.
Speaking of vibration, I mean, everything is frequency. Dina touched on that. Everything is energy. The highest level of vibration, the highest form of creation is love and gratitude, actually. They go hand in hand. They're on the same frequency. You cannot feel negative when you're grateful for what's going well. You cannot feel upset or angry when you're being grateful. We're not designed that way. We can carry one at a time. So if you're putting yourself more into gratefulness for what is working, what is going well, by the law of attraction, to our point, more of that must come. So if you really want to be able to get out of your head, which is all ego, and you know what ego stands for? Ego stands for edge God out. Ego stands for universe, you ain't got nothing. I'm the one who knows what's going on here. So let the ego do its thing. Never force against it, because it's very clever. It'll come through the back door. Honor it. Understand that it's there right now. Say, you know, thank you, mind. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for what you do. But right now, just have a rest. Like, sit down a little bit and then turn to love and gratitude. When you feel that loving feeling in your heart, when you're grateful for what's going on, that's when you're in the right vibration. That's when all of a sudden a power line can come towards you with everything you want.
Absolutely. You know, as you're talking, I was just thinking, what is it that I do when I say getting into the heart? And I think what it is for me is it's getting still, it's getting silent, and it's just listening. It's a deep listening to your essential being. And it's beautiful, speaks to you, you know, so it's a deep listening. Yeah.
Is that the meditation, Dina, that if you were saying, if you were to share one thing that if the people listening here that are live or whatever aren't doing, what they can start doing in 2024 would be meditation, would that be a great place to begin?
I'd love to say yes, but I know meditation is difficult for a lot of people. So I would just say get happy. You know, because the whole thing about law of attraction is you want whatever it is you want because you think that by having that, you're going to be happy. So our end goal is always happy. So let's just go straight to happy.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly.
Turn the news off. Don't go onto social media. Cancel your Facebook account. Be happy.
No, just man, even put on a comedy, if anything. Make yourself laugh. It's nice. It's happy. I'm good. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing. I mean, we can all relate to that about when you're happy at how things just seem to flow. And if something doesn't flow, it doesn't bug you as much.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know through our time in coaching, and guys, please reach out to Dina if you're looking for a coach, if you're looking for somebody who you need some help in all of these phenomenal lady. But there's a lot of people that I know you listen to because you share them with me, and I'm beginning to listen to now on a daily basis, giving me that information. So because we're wrapping up, very aware of your time. Who would you suggest that somebody that we can listen to, podcasts or on YouTube or whatever it is, on a daily basis to feed this changing this paradigms, which is Eli's lovely word. He loves that word, changing the paradigm.
So again, I think you need to use law of attraction and see what you're drawn to, what comes into your space. But for me, I listen to Abraham Hicks. I love Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
I also, Florence Scovel-Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Oh my word, that is one of the best books ever. Bashar, I love Bashar. I listen to Bashar. And Cryon. I love Cryon as well. So those are those are my kind of go-tos.
I just want to add one more to that. Those are amazing, and I love them as well. And I pay a lot of attention to Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
Anything you can catch on YouTube from Wayne Dyer, the way he speaks, his voice, his gentle kindness, you cannot help but feel good when you listen to Wayne Dyer.
Come on, coach. Tell me you're proud of me. Say you're proud of me. Hey?
There you go. Absolutely.
Another one, Michael Singer. You know, there's so many.
Untethered Soul, one of my favorite books. Yeah. And he's big on meditation, by the way. He discovered the power of meditation just, out of coincidence, and it helped him revolutionize his life in ways that couldn't even be imagined.
Amazing. Yeah. Round off. And Kim, I feel so bad you're sitting on the outside of all this conversation. But Dina, to round off, you've got a giveaway. What is that you're giving people which they can actually take away to apply?
So it's a little ebook on how to raise your vibration, how to stay in a high vibration place. So there's lots of techniques and ideas of how to be able to do that.
And this is a book that you've published. This is your book.
It's an ebook.
Okay, yeah. But this is a Dina Cramer original.
Yes, yeah.
Excellent. There we go. The reason why I'm saying that is because Kim's going to go, hey, there's a fellow author in the house. Yeah. Wow, absolutely. Dina, I value your time. This is really amazing. Eli hit it on the head when he said you can just see the energy. You can feel the energy even through Zoom. I can feel it coming through. I can feel your genuine success, the genuine application of what you're speaking about. That's why I follow you. That's why I've invited you here. And this is what we need, more genuine people in the world who are saying, this is the reality. This is what I've done. And this is what I've got from what I've done. If you would like to find out how, forget about that, what I've got from the results of it, even I can get caught the words, happy to share. So guys, I will put it out as well, Dina's LinkedIn account, so that then you can follow her there as well. Reach out to her. You'll have her information anyway from her book. But it's about being connected. I love what you said there, that your mind is fear, your heart is love. So go into your heart in that stillness, that quietness. And when I'm doing my breathing, as Eli says, breathe. When I'm doing the breathing, I often speak about when you're sitting there and you're breathing, imagine breathing healing, beautiful oxygen into your heart. Breathe into your heart. And when you focus on breathing into your heart, you go out of your head.
Absolutely.
Any last words of wisdom?
I just absolutely love this. So thank you so much, Tim and Eli and everybody else who's here and listening. Kim, I'm really sad that I'm going to be missing this, but I'm definitely going to listen to the recording because we had a bit of a connect the other day, and Kim is absolutely wonderful. You guys are gonna, it's just, yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So I hope I'm going to get a recording of this.
Oh yeah. The recording's on the LinkedIn group, so you just got to be part of there, and then that's where it goes, 100%. And that's where we also communicate. So chat on that LinkedIn group as well, because it's exactly what we spoke about earlier on, where it's about being connected with like-minded people. And that's what we really want, is that LinkedIn group is like-minded people, where you can go to when it's just shit, when it's not going good. You can say, yes, this is bad. And then somebody's there going to say, what about that? Lift you. Or when you're having a great success, share that, celebrate it. Have people celebrate with you, because then you'll lift them as well. That's what the community's about. Dina, hang around for as long as you want. Hang around.
To go, but thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to listen to the recording because I don't want to miss Kim. So, yeah.
Thanks,
you, everybody.
Wonderful rest of the day.
You too. Bye.
Ciao. Thanks so much, Dina. Huge appreciation. And if anybody's got questions for Dina, put it in the chat box there. We've got, I am a student of law of attraction, and there's been a lot that has manifested into my life due to it. My wife is the dreamer. She's been the one for years being able to just draw things and create things into her life with absolute ease. Whereas for me, being a mind guy, because the corporate background, it's been a journey of conscious awareness to change this. And then you've got Eli, who has studied this stuff with Bob Proctor, who was one of the people who headed up or was in the movie The Secret and was also in the book. So that, so there's a whole round. So please put in the chat box there. You're welcome to. But what we're going to do now is break a little bit, not have a break a little bit conversation, because there's a lady here, Kim. Now, I introduced you guys to Kim just now, but Kim's just got lots more. There's way more than this. And I said than what I spoke about when I was introducing Kim. But I said right at the beginning that, Kim, you're busy pushing my buttons, and I don't know if I like it. Tell everybody, what buttons are you pushing here?
Okay, so now that we all feel very good and relaxed, I'm just going to mess you up.
Ow.
Here it comes. Okay, so just by way of introduction, I am an active writer. So I coach people on writing and about leaving a legacy, but I do write, and I do go through the struggles that a lot of my clients go through with leaving a legacy. What I mentioned when we did our little connection the other day is that this year marked the anniversary, the first year anniversary of my father's passing. And he was a remarkable man, full of outrageous little pranks. I mean, outrageous pranks, great sense of humor, but quite a quiet, reflective man as well. So he wasn't much of a conversationalist. And just a few months before he passed away, we went down to Port Elizabeth to spend a little bit of time with him. And that particular year, he spoke like you cannot believe. He was full of stories. And I said to my husband, Daddy's not going to last. And then when my husband asked me why, I said, because he wants to be remembered. And all of those stories that he'd shelved for a long time, they all came bubbling out of him. And when he eventually did pass away, I was at home, a few weeks beforehand, and there was this call that came through, and I was trying to speak to my dad, and there were no words. He wasn't saying anything. So initially, I thought it was maybe just a pocket call, maybe it was a mistake. But I sensed that he actually was on the other side, and I said these words. I said, Daddy, I'm coming. And we went down to Port Elizabeth, my eldest daughter and I, and we spent the last 10 days with him in hospital, massaging his legs, doing his favorite playlists and that kind of thing. But all of those stories, all of those words were gone. And there was no one that was ever going to continue those stories for him. And so legacy has become an incredibly important thing for me. You know, we used to be in societies where, your father was a baker, then you became a baker, and your kids became bakers, and everyone ran around the family business. And we had wisdom that we don't have at the moment. So while we're watching Netflix, we are living other people's lives and absorbing what they want to tell us. Same true with the news. And by the way, my little hack for the news is that I have a friend who is in public relations, but for many years, he did a TV slot where he would summarize the news for whoever the interviewer was. And so when someone says to me, there's something happening in Israel, I phone Shoni. I say, give me the highlights. And he gives me a quick conversation about that because he's very balanced. And that's my news hack. So that I'm not in it all the time, but I'm aware of what's important in the world. And he knows not to go through all the nitty-gritties. But in any case, back to the story, legacy is incredibly important for me. I'm adopted. My mother is adopted. And so I've seen breaks, fractures in legacy. And so for me, legacy, having roots, passing on wisdom, is far more important than for people who take their lives for granted, who take their families for granted. So that's why I'm at that really high frequency, so to speak. And as I'm unpacking things, I'm realizing a lot more people, when they come to the end of their lives, they ask this question, will I be forgotten?
Wow, deep question.
Will the wisdom that I have be passed on? Now, we are in a society where there's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of ill health. People are dying earlier than what they are supposed to. And if you have a look at it, I believe it's because we've got a disposable society. We used to prepare meals, sit around the table, pass on our stories about what happened in our day. We were in each other's presence. And if you had a bad day, your coach was actually your mother or your father, or your granny, or your auntie. And that wisdom was passed on. And so we got stronger and better over time. But now we're not. Now we've got people who are becoming weaker, who are more prone to addictions, who get their highs from dopamine from being on Facebook. Why? Because we don't have that connection. We're not connected to our past. If we don't like the McDonald's, we throw it away. If we don't like that's what someone said on Facebook, we unfriend them. We are unable to take feedback. Feedback is something that authors have to take. They have to have someone that says, by the way, this whole chapter sucks. It doesn't move the story on. So I know that having a gratitude journal is essential for someone like me. Because if I don't, the fears that I had, which are sitting in my heart and my head, the fears that I had as a child, that when I was in foster care for 13 years, that sometime I'm going to be taken away. I'm not going to answer the question that the social welfare worker asked me. I'm not going to answer correctly, and I'm going to lose my family, and I'm going to go back into a home of safety or go back to my abusive biological parents. Those are fears that are sitting inside me. And so, more than just my journaling, more than just that, I have to battle with myself. And I have to say, what legacy do I want to leave? And sometimes that legacy comes with a fight. Sometimes you've got to claim it back. So those people who are on my LinkedIn profile, they'll see that I wrote a very deep piece this week about postnatal depression. I didn't get out of that by anything else except one day saying, I've had it with feeling like this. And I am going to choose a different legacy. I'm going to choose something different for my family. Now, being a writer means that you have to have discipline. And so just a little while ago, I was saying to myself, oh my word, 2023, I feel like a complete loser. I didn't actually get anything done. Now, my heart is actually telling me that because it's the fear that I'm doing something wrong. And then my brain, I've got to do the breathing things that Tim said, because quite literally I had to say, okay, what did Tim say? Breathe it in, bring it out. You know, I do that. But then I have to say, okay, logically, now we're going to look at what Eli had to say and say, let's write down what I'm grateful for. What are those wins? And I saw that I launched a book in March. And I saw that I launched another book last month, the month before. And I saw, now Tim, I've also done The Time in a Bottle, so that was an additional book. And then I have just finished the draft for the last book. So logically, I'm looking at the progression and I'm saying the discipline helped me to achieve something. There are days where your feelings are going to lie to you. They are going to say, it feels really cold outside. My toes feel slightly frozen. I'm going to spend the whole day in bed because that's what feels good. But when it comes to the end of the month and you've got to put food on the table, then you say, maybe I shouldn't have spent that day in bed. So for me, it's a constant battle. It's a battle to say, let's make things feel good, but let's also leave a legacy. And as a parent of 3 children, I know that there are days where my kids are going to say, I don't want to do the maths. I don't want to do the spelling. So you have to have a plan, and you've got to say, where am I going? And in terms of the law of attraction, I believe that, yes, knowing who you are is very important, but taking action steps to make sure you are positioning yourself so that you are where the people are that you want to attract. A little story that I mentioned to someone some time ago was that I had a friend that I was speaking to about my writing, and she said this to me, does passion really pay the rent? Those words almost crushed me. And then I had to say, the people that are in my proximity are not helping me to move towards where I want to be. And so I then joined a community of writers. And those were the people that understood me, understood my journey. Some of them were ahead of me, some of them were behind me. And together we were able to unpack those questions. So if you want to attract better things in your life, you have to, yes, know who you are, but then you've got to get off your butt and you've got to go and sit in a place that might feel flippin' uncomfortable. Because when I was sitting there, I saw these other people saying, oh, I've just done $150 this month in books alone. And I'm like, what? And I just did this, and it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable because they were where I wasn't ready to be. And my feelings told me, you suck. You have just failed at this last business, and now you think you want to do this other thing. So that's why I'm saying it needs to be a balance. You need to decide where you want to be. I listened to a podcast the other day by a guy called David, I can't remember. I'll remember it and I'll send it out to the group. But he is like a hard-hitting, no-nonsense kind of guy. And he said when he had a look at legacy and wealth, and he looked at the families who were able to pass on wealth generationally, they all had common denominators, and that was that from a very young age, they started training their kids on mindset, what our business looks like, how we speak, how we do things, how we get ahead. That is something that is incredibly important to me. Because even if you are not able to build up $20 million to leave to your kids, you can instill with them a mindset on how to get ahead. I had this song I used to sing to my youngest son. We all know the song. I'm a terrible singer, but I'm going to sing it to you in any case. He would fall and he would cry like little kids do. And I'd stretch out my hands to his hands and I'd say, I fall down, but I get up again. Takes a lot to keep me down. And I used to sing that song to him over and over again because our family has been through terrible things. But I've used that as a fuel to move forward. Now I'm going to ask everyone, yes, there you go. Excellent. Patrick bit David. That's it. Brilliant guy. I want everyone to write in the chat box. Have you ever watched a movie that has been terrifying and exhilarating, and maybe it was a murder, maybe it was a thriller, but you walked out and you said, man, that was a brilliant movie? Who's done that? And if you remember what the movie is, tell me what it is.
Yeah, my memory sucks. I know I have. I can feel it, but I can't remember the names of movies, Kim.
Okay, so has anyone watched In Pursuit of Happiness? Braveheart, there you go. Okay, anyone else? Any other movie? Okay, so I've watched Braveheart. I love it. I love it. It's like I'm a medieval fantasy writer and I write nonfiction, but I started with medieval fantasy. So Braveheart is like right up there. You know that moment he comes out on the horse and they've just killed his wife. And he's like got this look, and then he puts his arms behind him and he pulls out those swords. But he first has his hands up, like, I surrender. You think he's surrendering, but he's got the swords behind him and he just mungs the rest of them. And I'm like, yes. And then another kind of a modern Braveheart, that would be In Pursuit of Happiness. And there's that moment where he's with his son and he's holding him and they're in the bathroom, in the toilet. And they're sleeping there because they've got nowhere else to sleep that night. And someone's banging on the door. I want to be let in. And this guy's crying and he's got this child. I'm like, oh my God. But you walk out when he's made his fortune. You're like, yes. So that is life. That is, people get excited by the passion and the pain and all of that kind of thing. And inside everyone in this room, there's that moment where you think, it's over. I'm just not going to be able to continue. I can't take it anymore. And then comes the victory. We are designed to be like that. Now, you do have to have the focus and the calm. When they came out in Braveheart, he had a moment of breathing. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to make my enemy think I've surrendered. He had to have all of those things, but he had to have that strife moment. So that's, our stories are like that. Our kids want to be inspired by us. They don't want us to just be calm. And I'm not ridiculing anything that anyone said, but I'm saying complexity of life. If you want a legacy, you've got to embrace everything that God has given us. And when it hurts, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It means you have a lesson. This week, I was speaking to a woman who had the biggest tragedy. She waited 8 years to have a baby, 8 years. And when that baby was born, it was born with a condition, and she buried her child 4 years ago. That little one only lasted a very short period of time. Her pain is tangible. It is devastating. And I know if I help her write this book, I'm going to be crying a lot. Now, I know, because I have done counseling as training, I'm not supposed to be crying in the session with the woman, but I'm a book coach. So, and I'm not a psychologist, so I'm allowed to cry in the coaching session because I need her to know that her pain and her courage to help other women who have faced this loss, it's going to be acknowledged. And I'll walk the journey with her, holding her hand. And then I need Tim's breathing afterwards, and I need Eddie's gratitude, and I need all of those things to calm me and center me that I've got strength for the next journey. But I need to help her to fight through that pain and release that book so that she can fulfill her purpose, that she can help people who are struggling through that condition, that problem, that they can find closure and find joy again after their pain. I want you to tell me in the chat box one person that made a significant difference in your life because of a story that they shared. And it could be your grandmother, it could be your aunt, it could be a beggar on the side of the road that said one thing to you. Eddie, I'm going to ask you to tell me who that one person is.
There's been a few. A few people that definitely made an impact. One of them was my grandfather. The other one definitely Bob Proctor, right? Because he said a couple of nuggets to me, and I was like, "What?" And then when I thought back and really kind of took in the information, I really started to understand differently what was said to me. Right? So, but it's important, and I love the fact that you brought up the whole legacy thing. I remember a long time ago I was asked that, what do you want to be remembered for? And I never even gave it a second thought. I was like, remembered? What do you mean? I'm just doing what I'm doing. That's it. And now the biggest legacy that I believe, and I spoke to Tim about this, the greatest gift that I'm able to do and give to anyone is to my kids, by instilling this type of thinking, what we're talking about today, it just into them through conversation. I don't sit there and try to coach them and teach them. I just talk to them this way all the time. They don't know any different, right? They see me sometimes on the floor doing stretches, breathing, meditating. It's not weird. It's just dad. That's what dad does. And I want that to kind of stay with them. Eventually they'll end up with my grandkids, and they'll just have they'll have that, 1% more in life because they think differently, not surrounded by all the nonsense and the noise and everything that we talked about today.
Correct. I want to tell one more story, and then I want to ask the rest of the people in the group to share a story with us. But many years ago, when I was in high school, in my final year of school, my grandparents came to live with us. And this is a story that I've told on LinkedIn as well. But my grandfather was also, quiet man. You would see him smoke his cigarette. He had a way with roses, like unlike I've ever experienced beforehand. And you hardly ever got any words out of him either. The only thing that he used to do, he used to blame his farts on the dog. I mean, that's really the only thing that I knew about my grandfather. Great with roses, smokes, stares out the window, and blames his farts on the dog. Any case, the one day, my grandparents were in the room and I was goofing around and I'd found a key for the door because this particular door didn't have a key. And the key looked like it was the right one for that door. And when you put it in and you turned it and you locked it, it actually locked the door. But it couldn't open the door. So I had locked the lock. Luckily, I hadn't closed the door, but I locked the lock. And now the key would not unlock the door. And I mean, how many of you have had that situation where you have a solution and you think this is the solution in life, and the whole thing just goes belly up and you're like, oh my word, I should never have done that. Now I'm stuck. So now I'm stuck. And when you are a teenager, you amplify all of these problems. So now I believe that my parents are probably going to come home and kill me. Now, obviously, they're not going to kill me. I mean, these are my parents that rescued me from an abusive family. But as a teenager, you always like, my parents are going to kill me. In any case, I tell my grandfather this and I say, Grandpa, I don't know what to do. And so he says to me, don't worry. Where's your dad's toolkit? Bring it to me. I will fix the lock for you. Cool. So I get it. He fixes the lock, and he's my superhero. And I say, oh, you saved my life. I can't believe you did this. And so he says these words to me, Kimmy, that's nothing. I escaped a prisoner of war camp. Getting this door to open is nothing. And I say, cool, I'll just love you. And off I go. I forgot about that story. Decades later, and I can see David's getting very tired of my story because he's yawning. Tim, you need to do the coffee breathing. That is supposed to replace the coffee.
I'm listening. No, go.
Years later, I'm in business and I'm facing huge obstacles. Obstacles that my parents can't help me because they've never been entrepreneurs, and I'm just really struggling. And I think about my grandfather, and I think, prisoner of war camp, the fear he must have faced must have been astronomical. Did he plan the escape, or did it like just one day there was a gap and he took it? Did he go and get information from guards? Did he watch them? Did he get someone to help him? Was there someone that maybe was ready to split on him? Did he try more than once? All of these questions are in my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, if my grandfather was here, how would he been able to help me navigate the situation? What wisdom would he been able to impart on me? The strategy. Could he have spoken to me about the strategy? I never got that story because, quite frankly, at 16, 17 years old, I was too immature to understand that there was a story there. If he had written that story down when I got older, I would have loved to have heard that story. And part of me wants to imagine what that story was and write it down, because there was wisdom in there. How do you get to be so quiet and calm when you faced utter terror and violence. And so inside all of us, our kids and grandkids might not want to hear it right now, but there will come a time when those stories are going to be invaluable. And in my book, that is part of the freebie that you're going to get when you rate the talk, I've written Time in a Bottle, and I mentioned Jim Crow because although my father died when he was in his 70s, Jim Crow died when he was in his 30s. But he wrote a song for his child that when he wrote it, his child had not been born yet, but he died when his child was 2 years old. We don't know when time is going to run out for us, when we're no longer going to have the words. And if we do not make a decision, whether it's a journal that you write or you actually publish it, if we don't take the time to impart that wisdom, someone else is going to do it. And our children and our grandchildren are going to be branded with those people's wisdom, with Netflix's wisdom.
Oh, this is brilliant. Guys, I hope you're starting to see why I'm just sitting here listening and absorbing everything that Kim is saying. We speak about legacy creation, financial. That's what most of us look at. How much am I leaving my kids? I told my parents many, 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 many years ago, spend your money, it's yours. Don't live frugally later in life to then leave it. But that's what we all think. We look at this. But yet, your financial legacy, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, what's it worth? How do you actually want to be remembered? And sometimes when I'm listening to Kim and I follow Kim and we've had a chat and we speak, I look and I go, look at all the things that I've done in my life. 27 years in corporate hospitality. What did I actually leave behind? Did I have a legacy that I left behind there? Well, maybe I touched 1 or 2 of the employees' lives a little bit and they are better. That's what I only hope. But the businesses have moved on. They're carrying on without me. With the immaterial or whatever I put into place. What did I leave behind? Nothing. Reality. Then I look and I go, well, I used to chase money. I've stopped chasing money. It didn't work for me. So I hope my son never thinks, Dad, I need your bucks, because it's not there. What is the legacy? And that's when I said right at the beginning that Kim's pushing my buttons, because she's asking those questions, saying, how do you want to be remembered? In 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years behind, down the line, what are you going to leave behind?
Absolutely. Tim, can we start asking people to just share 1 or 2 of their stories? I don't know how you are going to manage it, but if it's going to be in alphabetical or in the list, because the person I can see is Orange, but do you want to, if people can by show of hands, if they've got a story that they want to mention?
Yeah, so show your hands. Let me just get everybody up on the screen here. Sorry, so I can see everybody. Yeah, we're a beautiful small group here. So if you have a short story, a story you want to share, what I'd ask is just try and do it, keep it in 1 minute. If you would like to share a story, something that's impacted you in your life, with Kim's busy sharing on, because that's the one thing that's an expertise of hers, is to identify the story and help you create a legacy out of it. Does anybody want to share?
If you're not ready to share, I really wanted to be a teacher at some point, so I will pick on you.
Well, here's one. Again, it's not so much of a story, but I don't right now, I'm not thinking of the stories from my childhood and those which I'd like to take going forward. But I am going to pick on the wife. And maybe this story will resonate with you. Now, my wife's dad is 81. He's an ex-policeman in South Africa. So he's got stories like you cannot believe, because he was part of the whole change of 1991 to 94 with the release of Nelson Mandela and all of that story around there. The stories that he has got, that he shares. And Kim, you spoke about it with your dad as well. So he shares these stories with my wife, and she started to write them down. So if somebody else is here, Kim, what do we do about these things? How can we take these little individual stories? What do you do to actually make it into something which, an ebook, a published book, where your father's memory is going to be remembered, because that's the legacy. And we all sit in a similar position, I have no doubt, that we understand that when our parents leave us, perhaps they've left already. They've gone. The stories are gone. What do you do about this?
Yeah. So, you know, when we tell stories, we have to have a problem that we're solving. And that's really important, because I hated history. Oh my word, history sucked. That, like, I remember in 1752, Jan van Riebeeck landed on the Cape, or I can't even remember what the heck the date was. But for many years, I just remembered that date. That was all I remembered out of all of my schooling history. That was all I remembered. And then we also did like the war, the Second World War, and my mom watched like 1 million movies about the Second World War, and none of it touched me. And then when I was working at a hospital, we were doing a psychoneurological immunology course. And the guy who did the course was a Jewish doctor, and he told us the story that Hitler had a physician who was a Jewish physician, and this is when he was a boy. Now, I try to research the story, so don't shoot me if it's actually a load of rubbish, but I took this story to heart. And he had this physician that really understood him, because he was quite a troubled child when he was younger. And then when the Holocaust happened, he got the Secret Service to remove this one doctor and his family to safety. And then you think, what the heck? That is completely like different to what we would imagine he would have done. And so that story stuck with me. But the reason that the story stuck with me is because the doctor who told us this story was a brain surgeon, and it was part of the psychoneurological immunology course, that when we become victims emotionally, the kind of diseases that we get tend to be more lingering. And when we have got that driver personality, we get like the heart attack and that kind of thing. So he was painting, it all worked within this context. Now, whether it's true or not is not the most important thing, but the story stuck with me because there was a purpose for the story. It answered a question. And so when we write our stories, we've got to say, I'm not doing it chronologically. I am taking a lesson that came out of that story, and I'm asking myself, what problem does this story solve? So when I go back to my grandfather's story, that story would have solved a problem for me when I was running a business and I felt unsupported and I got into a difficult, dangerous, whatever you want to call it, situation. I could then have called on the wisdom that my grandfather had and apply it to the problem that I had. So you would naturally start and journal down what all of the things are, but then you say to yourself, what is a problem that lots of people have, that my children could have or my grandchildren can have? What experiences do I have that can give them insight to how to solve that problem? Now, we hated those people that everything just flippin' went well for them. We hated them at school. They got A's and they told you, I never studied. I just listened in class. And then we're all like, we hate you. We want the struggle. We want to hear that person say, there was load shedding, or I had to sit with a candle for the whole year because my parents couldn't afford the electricity, or there was just no electricity in the township. And then we're like, yes, that's the Braveheart moment. Yes, because if they can do it, I can too. That's what we're looking for. So you've got to look and say, this is the problem I wanted to solve when I was going through this journey. This is how I almost got crushed. We want the Darth Vader moment where you discover Darth Vader was your father. That crap, that was not the legacy that I wanted. I wanted to have Yoda be my father because Yoda is good. Darth Vader's terrible. He's terrible. He's a terrible role model. But Luke Skywalker still became a Jedi, even with the sucky heritage of the... So that's what it's got to happen. We've got to find the drama in that story. We've got to find the struggle in that story. We've got to find the failure in the story. There's got to be a time where this didn't work. I am a terrible business person. I am the worst parent. I regularly have my kids say to me, we hate you. You are the worst mom in the whole world. And in fact, last night I was on a talk with Jerry Jenkins, and he said this. His kids told him, we think that we want the next door neighbor to be our dad, not you. And he's like, I'm a good dad. I actually only write when you guys are asleep. I don't take any time away from you. Why is the guy next door better than I am? He's an alcoholic. And he just he's unpredictable and unreliable. And then they figured out, his wife said to him, yes, but you are so predictable. They always know you're going to be there. When he comes home, they're like, oh, Dad's home. They haven't seen him for 3 days because he's been on a drinking binge. But what was sad about that story is he had a discussion with his wife and he said, what are we going to do for this family to make life better for them, to try and instill some of the core values that we have for this family, because they've got it messed up. You know, the kids, the excitement is for the wrong thing. And he said the very next day they were going to go and have a discussion. But the very next day, the next door neighbor's wife came and said, I found my husband in the garage. And he gassed himself. And then it was too late. It was too late for them to help them.
Wow.
So write the flippin' thing down.
Start.
Just start. If you feel it's something you just want to go to Jetline, print it out, say to your attorney, yeah, hand this over when I die, then do that. But if you feel that your story can impact other people and you're brave enough to do that, get hold of a writing coach. I'm a writing coach. There are other writing coaches. Start getting it out the way. And then look at self-publishing or publishing with a traditional publisher. But I have to caution you, traditional publishers have got a certain business model that they're following. They've got a certain marketing strategy. So just like if I am going to find the world's best fudge, I am not going to take it and sell it to a diabetic store because they're going to like, get out of here. That's not our brand. Okay. So if you write your book and you pitch it to a traditional publisher, make sure that you are pitching to a publisher that has your kind of book as part of their marketing mix. Because if they decline you and you think now my dream is crushed, you're doing yourself, you're doing your family, or whoever it was you want to serve, you're doing them a disservice. Find the right traditional publisher. And if you don't want to go through all of that rejection, which is what I didn't want to, then self-publish. There are companies that can legitimately help you to self-publish. Do not go with companies that sign you into a distribution model, because some of the people that we've come across have been stuck in distribution models for 10 years and they've never earned a single flippin' cent. So rather go to a company that will help you to self-publish and will say these words to you or will be in your contract. Your royalties are your own. That's what we do. We help people to produce the book. We'll put it onto Amazon for them. We will give them the files to have it printed, but they control it because it is their business. It is something that they can sell during their workshops, give it away, leave it to their kids, whatever they want to do. Find a professional distribution company, sign a contract with them, but make sure that your legacy is something that you own. And if you go through a traditional publisher, make sure that your contract specifies a certain period of time that you can get the book back if you need to.
Wow. You've got all these complexities because you've been down
Amazing.
been down this road. But Kim, can I ask you to share your journey in self-publishing and your why? That's such a powerful story. You mind sharing that with everybody? Because what I want to try and do is get across that we've all heard the saying that everybody's got a book inside of them. And David's sitting there going, nah. He's got to stay in that. But your why factor for getting your series, because you've got a series, there's 3 series,
Yes.
am I right?
It's going to be 3 series. I'm still busy on the first one. So
hurry up, come on, get it done. What you waiting for?
Okay. So I've got 3 children, and the middle child, oh my word, she's like got adventure tattooed on her phone. I blame my husband because my first child is extremely conservative. And when I was pregnant with the second child, my husband came to me and he said, I don't want a child that's a wuss like you and Margaret. I want to have a child that I can go bungee jumping with, that we can go paragliding with, that we can go diving with. Well, look, she's 11 years old. They've never been bungee jumping together or paragliding or anything like that. But she gets on the roof. You're driving down the road and you hear the thunk, thunk, thunk in the boot. She's in the boot. Everything that she did in the first part of her year just terrified me all the time. And we had a tutor for my eldest daughter, an Afrikaans tutor, who happened to know all of the children. And she said to me, your middle child is going to be the most interesting adult, but your job is to make sure that she gets to be an adult alive. So these are the kinds of daily terrors that we would deal with. And because we were always scared, we were always shouting at her. We're like, Nadine, get off there. Don't do that. She taught her brother, who was still in nappies, he was a toddler, to climb up the tree and climb onto the carport. And he couldn't make the distance between the tree and the carport, so he fell from the roof of the carport onto the ground, onto the bricks on his head. And he had a hole in his head, and it's a miracle that my son is alive. But in any case, so she was in trouble all the time. And I thought to myself, one day I thought, if I continue always shouting at her because I'm scared, she's going to think she's a problem child. She's going to carry that with her, the problem kid who's always in trouble. So I thought, well, what is the flip side of this reign of terror that's going on in our house? And the flip side was that she was fearless. And fearless, I mean, people like write books about it and we go to seminars so we can be fearless, but she's got it in her and she's gutsy, and you like do something that she doesn't believe in and she will just fight you all the way. You know, there's no like, I'm going to bow down now because my parents are strong guys. She fights you all the way. So I thought, okay, if I take all of those strengths and I amplify it, because she also loves animals, she could pick up a bird. I mean, who the heck picks up a bird? No one picks up a bird because the thing flies away, but Nadine can do it. And so I said, if I had to imagine what her personality would be like in the fantasy world, what would she be like? And so then the bird flew and became bigger and became a dragon. And Nadine became the dragon whisperer. And so all of her personality traits are inside this book. And that was going to be my first legacy for her, to remind her that she was special that she was valued. And even though she was going through the trials of growing up and us fighting that battle of letting her be her and then making her feel safe, she would get to know that she was valued. Now, when COVID happened, the day before they announced lockdown, I had a book launch. And then that, like, next day, the president said, well, that's overs cadovers, you know, whatever you were doing, tough luck, starved to death, whatever, you know, the whole world is just like not going to work anymore. So then we had no income. But 10 days after that book launch, I got a royalty EFT from the event coordinator. And I thought, my word, I can't work, but I just made money. And then I thought to myself, there's something to this. And I researched, I learned, I discovered as much as I could. And used to, when I was writing, I'd write from 3 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock. Now that was broken up into 3 hours. The first hour was researching medieval life, because I knew you couldn't drink out of a glass. You know, what kind of vessel would you drink out of? What food did they eat? How did they say good morning? What was tax like in that time? So I spent an hour researching. Then I would spend another hour researching how to run a successful publishing company, or how to successfully sell books. And then the third hour was actually writing. And so as I began to craft that, things started making a lot more sense. I came from the corporate gifting industry. I had to pay back deposits when lockdown happened. And there was just absolutely no way of earning a living. And so I thought to myself, I'm just going to continue. Because there's a thing what we call in the writing world, we call it read through. 80% of people who read book 1 and who love it will read book 2. No, 40%, and then it becomes 80%, and then it drops down to 60%. So it means that you advertise the first book, and then you don't have to advertise the second book. You keep on advertising the first book. And then there's a trickle through that people are going to read it. When I did the Pecha Kucha talk, I don't know if anyone knows about Pecha Kucha, but you get like 6 slides or 20 slides. It's six seconds a slide or something ridiculous like that. It just terrifies you. I can't remember the numbers because I was just completely traumatized. But when we went out and we had our snacks and that kind of thing, this woman arrives and she says, "Where is my book?" And it dawned on me, I'd never met her in my entire life, but I had been through some really stressful times some time before that, and I put in my newsletter, I'm going through writer's block, I'm under stress. And this woman, who is based in Johannesburg, sent me a message on Instagram. And she said to me, "Where do you stay?" And I said, "I live in Johannesburg." And she said, "I'm sending you to my massage therapist so that you can get over your writer's block." And she paid for me to go for the massage. And then when I was writing book 5, my father passed away. So I stopped writing book 5. And then she pitched up at Pecha Kucha and she said to me, "It's me. And I want to know where my book is." So I now have pressure from people who actually want to finish the story. And that's a very exciting place to be in. It's a lot of pressure, but it's exciting. And I know that my kids are always going to have those books. I do my own illustrations inside, not the outside. I do my own illustration because I can draw. I did fine art at school. And that's another thing. Sometimes I feel exhausted and I'm like, I don't feel like doing this drawing. It's just too hard. And I've got these glasses, not from writing, but from flipping doing fine art illustrations. I call it the author's Alice band. So when you have one of these, you've earned it. But that is something that they're going to be able to show their kids, their grandkids, and say, this is who your grandmother was.
Stunning. Stunning. This is a true legacy, and this is really what I wanted Kim to come and share with us. And I wanted to hear more about her story, and she's done that. It's about sharing. It's about creating a legacy that is a financial one as well because of the royalties. But that wasn't the key driving factor. The key thing for Kim here is sharing that story, being remembered, having something where your kids find or value to it. Now that is such a key thing. And that's why I say Kim's pushing my buttons, because every time she puts a post out, I think she's talking to me. I'm going, okay, I hear you loud and clear. I will get there. I'm on my way. Because we do have a book inside. I know I've got more than a book inside. But there's a couple of interesting, Kim. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to round off now. So thank you so much for sharing. You can see, I can hear that you are that fantasy novel writer, about how emotional and how passionate you get about your stories. Just even by sharing Braveheart, Braveheart sound more exciting than the movie was for me. So I'm just going to watch it again. Maybe I missed something. But absolutely brilliant. Love what you shared. There's a couple of very interesting things which you said right at the beginning, which is so important because they became like a bit of a theme. Reinventing yourself, finding out and operating within who you are and understanding who you are as a key part of this, and being connected with a community of like-minded people. I mean, Ellie and I spoke about that at the beginning. Dina spoke about it. She's speaking about law of attraction and manifestation. You're here talking about creating a legacy, being a writer, writing your story, writing your grandparents' stories. But there's a theme that's within this that I'm picking up. You can't do it on your own. Be a part of a community of like-minded people, because the typical people that we hang around with love us, but they're not of the right mindset, of the right knowledge or information or wisdom to get us to where we want to be. It's our dream. You share your dream, your passion with somebody else. And we want them to adopt it, but they're not going to, because it's yours. So you need to be around other people who have the same passion, who have the same dream, who have already done what it is that you want to achieve. And identifying who you are. This is the core fundamental whole purpose of my entire professional pointer program, is helping you identify who you are. Because when you're operating within who you are, you have as much passion and excitement and drive that you also will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to research whatever it is that you're doing, and then spend another 3 hours to identify, well, how do I actually do this? And then the next hour in actually writing it down, which is what Kim did. I mean, that's commitment. Day in, day out. But Kim knew who she was. She knew why she was doing this. Became part of a community. Ellie, how's that? What's your book?
It's amazing, of course.
What's your book?
And that's the thing. We all have a book. I mean, now that I've listened to Kim and the things that she inspired me, it reminds me to time to get started, right? Just little ideas that pop into our heads, and sometimes we dismiss it as nothing. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to write about it and whatever, but no, there's more to it. If that idea sparks, maybe that's something that could be left behind. Maybe you can build on that idea, you know, like you said, who. It's interesting because you know how they say you can be, do, and have anything you want. But notice the order. You can be who you need to be who you are, and then you can do anything you want and have anything you want. But you must first be.
That's it.
And how do you be that person? You be that person by doing some of the things we talked about today, by letting the law of attraction work for you, by letting it come to you, by getting out of your own head and moving into your heart, right? Listening to that higher self. We all have what's called a higher self. And the higher self, the ultimate self, is never bitter. It's never angry. It doesn't want any negativity. It doesn't know any negativity. It's the higher self. The higher self is connected to source energy. It doesn't need to struggle. It doesn't need to fight. It doesn't need to worry. Everything is pretty much done, so why worry? And then there's the mind. So if we can be that person, if we can become who we truly are, and each one of us have a gift inside of us. We're all unique from our combinations of things that happened in our life, from our upbringing. Our parents shape us, our grandparents shape us. It's generational. We all know that. We've heard of that. I think the big takeaway from our discussion today and bringing on these amazing ladies with us today is that moving in towards the end of the year, you got another month to go. So there's, it's not over yet. Spend the time discovering who that person is. Who is my highest self? And spend a little time with my highest self, because my highest self doesn't want to be bitter. It doesn't care what's going on. It's not worried about the bills. It's not worried about what can I do, who can I do it with. It just wants to, like we said, be happy. When you feel good, when you feel happy, that's your highest self in alignment with you. When you don't feel well, when you don't feel happy, that's you and your highest self misaligned. That is telling you, hey, buddy, wake up. You're not aligned with your highest self, because if you were, you'd just be happy.
Amazing. And on those notes, we got to round off. Kim's
That's
happy.
it.
You can see that. She knows who she is. She's operating in
Absolutely.
our zone.
Absolutely.
She's the mindset whisperer. I've just put in the chat box there the speaker score link. Click on that link in order to rate it, and then please get access. Please also give wonderful comments. Yes, give wonderful comments. We don't do negative stuff anymore. Forget about it. And then you get access to those free downloads, that information, that amazing book that Kim's put there for you. Also, Dina's book that she's got. Eli's also shared something with you as well, an exercise that I've done to help on the gratitudes. And I'm still actually busy with my 10 every morning with my 10 gratitudes. So from my side, I'm going to say amazing, absolutely love this. We're going to keep working on this. We're going to see you the end of January, and I can't remember when it is, but I'll post it anyhow. The last Thursday of January is when we're going to be back, because December, we're not going to be running one of these things. We're all going to be, in fact, in December, we're going to be breathing. But you're going to be working out who you are. You're going to be starting to put down your book. So, ladies and gents, it's been an absolute privilege. Kim, once more, thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely amazing. Loved your wisdom, your knowledge. Love your stories, your passion. I've learned so much more about you. And yes, you've pushed my button in even further. And I think it's like that lock of yours. It's stuck. It's not going to release. I need a toolbox. Eli, as always, privileged to have you here, sharing your wisdom, huge amount of information. Keep an eye. I'll send an email out, probably be this weekend, to everybody with all the links to make sure that you've got it all. And with everybody's, please follow these guys on LinkedIn. Connect with them. Connect with Kim. Connect with Dina. That's what it is that I want to do, is share their information with other communities so you guys can benefit as well. They're truly heartfelt people. Thank you all very much. Have an amazing December. And I'm going to bid you farewell. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Eli. Appreciate you all. And we'll see you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.